I have been a photographer for the National Geographic for 30 years. I have been to the Amazon jungle, the Pacific Ocean, and other important places on different continents. When I was in my 50s, my company started recruiting younger photographers, and I was not getting many opportunities. They told me that since I was growing old, I could not travel in harsh environments and put myself in dangerous situations as a photographer is supposed to do for work. For almost 2 years, I was getting small gigs, and sometimes I had to go on for months without a job. On top of everything, my mother was diagnosed with stage 2 cancer, and I was all she had since I was not earning as much as I used to, so I desperately needed a good shot. One evening when I was surfing the internet, I came across a website for photographers. The website required your phone number, and when I placed my number, within seconds I received a call. Hesitantly, I picked up the call hoping that it was a scam, but to my surprise, a person answered. He described the job to me and told me that their small company has been looking for a photographer to cover footage on a secluded island. The island had no name and was recently discovered by the company. They wanted to be the first new to publish about it on the internet and was going to operate a secret program there. After the call ended, I thought about this. Usually I don't take jobs from other companies, but since the pay for this job was very good, I decided to give it a try. The next thing I knew was that I was on the plane. I had to go to a different country. After a long flight, the owner of the company, Mr. Silver, was there at the airport for me. He told me all about the company and the island that he discovered. When he took me to the office building, I was surprised to see that there was no employee. He was operating the company on his own. I didn't give much thought to it and got ready to go to the island. I packed my cameras and drones. Mr. Silver told me that I will have to go the island on my own. He provided a boat to me and a map. I was supposed to row all the way to the island. I was excited for this unique job and nervous as well. I started rowing, and after 3 days, I finally started seeing an island. From a distance, the island looked small and full of trees, just like most other tropical islands. When I got off the boat, I was immediately intimated by a bad smell. It was a pungent and foul odor, maybe that of a dead animal. I decided to wrap a cloth around my nose and start taking photos. The island had no animals or birds, just trees and grass. Surprisingly, none of the trees had any fruits or flowers. There was not much to cover, so I went deeper into the island. I saw a person sitting under a tree. I was surprised because I did not expect anyone else. He saw me and greeted me, and in a second a few more people came out of the forest. They were all dressed in rags, and their clothes were tearing apart. I asked them how did they get here, but they said they had no memory, but they couldn't leave the island. I took pictures of them, and they made me a fish stew. I spent the night with them. They told me about a mad doctor who committed heinous experiments on 10 slaves in his lab on this island. I was very shocked to hear this and asked him where the lab is, and they said it is still in the island. The next morning when I woke up, there was no sign of people, and I was all alone. I got up and decided to stroll around the island and click photos. As I went deeper into the forest, I found a building. The building was old and abandoned. It was falling apart. I figured it must be the doctor's laboratory, so I went in and all the rooms had screens and medical equipment, although most of them were broken and had weeds growing everywhere. I went deeper and found myself walking into a room that looked like a dungeon. It had mugshots of 10 people on one side and mugshots of 10 other people on another side. In the dungeon, I saw a skeleton whose hands were tied to a rope. I looked around and saw many other skeletons, and all of them were tied with shackles or ropes. I was so spooked I thought that the place was haunted until I reached the stairways. The stairs also went down to the basement. Curiosity got the best of me, and I went downstairs. The basement was dark and gloomy and had a rotting smell. I turned on my torch and saw a dead body in shackles, its arms and feet chained, and it held a book in his hand. The body also wore a lab coat that had Dr. Stanley written on it. I took the book from his hand, and to my horror, the book was full of pictures of human experiments committed on people, the same people on the mugshots. On the last page was a picture of a bomb and a letter. I started reading the letter, and it seemed like it was written by one of the prisoners. "We have been captured by the Mad Doctor. We were slaves, and he lured us into this island saying he would give us jobs. He has been conducting dangerous experiments on us, injecting poisonous fluids into our bodies, and wants us to convert into supernatural beings. Most of my fellows are already dead, and I have somehow managed to shut the doctor into this room. I got out of the building and hurried to my boat. Within 3 days, I reached back to the station. I told the entire story to Mr. Silver, and when he asked me to show him pictures of those people, I took out my film, but to my surprise, instead of people, there were only shadows of people in the photos.